everyone. I'm Debbie Stokes of Three Women Voices. Welcome. The question today is, are you happy? If not, keeping you from being happy? Is it anger? Is it depression? Is it stress? Do you know? Well, come along with me on the journey to meet a woman who specializes in teaching people how to be happy. She has traveled to different states and is on a mission to promote happiness. I introduce to you therapist, educator, and happy coach, Diane. Hi, Diane. Welcome. So tell me, based on your experiences teaching people happiness, what is causing people to be so angry?
Well, hi. Thank you for having me. And
You're welcome.
everybody's different. So I don't want to start off saying that everybody's, feeling a certain way because we're all different individuals. And we have what's called a happiness set point. And that happiness set point is developed between a mix of genetic and a mix of situational and how you were raised. And, if we put it on a scale of like 1 to 10, some people will be on the lower end, more pessimist.
Okay.
Themselves realists, that's the name, or optimists. And to look back to see, what kind of person you are, where it developed from, you really want to go back to your childhood because we develop our beliefs, our habits, our patterns, all between 6 and 8 years old.
Oh, wow. So tell me, how does anger affect a person? Like, what does it look like on a person?
So anger is a very natural emotion. I want to start out that way because anger has gotten this bad rap. Never be angry, don't show your anger. And the truth is, anger is a very healthy, normal emotion. What's unhealthy about anger is if we internalize it and just push it down, it's eventually going to rear its ugly head in various different ways. Another thing to think about anger is a secondary emotion. So underneath anger is fear. For an example, I had a client who her husband cheated on her and she was really angry, right? Rightfully so. You're married 16, 17 years, you have kids, everything is fine. And now you find out your spouse is cheating on you. You have every right to be angry. It's a valid emotion, but we always forget that underneath the anger is fear. So when she first told me, that her husband admitted to it, she was really angry. She's, saying how angry, how hurt, all of this. And then after she got over that initial reaction, after a few minutes, it went right down to the fear. And she started with, well, what's wrong with me? Why would he cheat?
Oh, okay.
Am I not good enough? Am I not pretty enough? Was I not a good enough mother? Am I boring? What's going on? Will anybody else love me? Will I ever find somebody? All the fear bubbles to the surface. So when you're thinking about anger, I also want you to think about fear. The other thing is when we hold on to anger, which people will hold on to anger till they die. I mean, they'll take it with them to their graves.
Yes. Okay.
It's sad, but true. When we hold on to anger, it affects every choice and decision that you make. So if you've been holding on to anger, let's say from childhood, whether it's, you had abusive parents, maybe you were bullied, whatever it is, if you're holding on to that anger, it literally will affect every decision you make as an adult because you have
yes. Okay. That makes sense.
It does, because you have all this anger and fear. So it'll affect who you marry, what type of relationships you have, if you're able to be vulnerable or authentic and open because you're too afraid. You put that, kind of shield around you to protect yourself. So it'll affect everything, even if you have kids or the lack of kids, what type of job you hold, everyday situations. So if you're really holding on to anger, I want you to think about all the decisions and choices it'll affect. And the other thing about anger is holding on to it only hurts us. Yeah, it's sad but true. The person or people who have hurt you, they could be moved on with their life. They might not even be aware of how much they hurt you. Yes. Or maybe they care, maybe they don't, but it's not really affecting them. It's affecting you. Yes. So if you're thinking about holding on to that anger and you don't want to forgive, because a lot of my clients will say, I don't want to forgive. Forgiveness means I'm justifying their behavior or I'm saying it's right. Or
really?
Yeah, they do say that, which is not true whatsoever. Anger does not justify someone's behavior, doesn't excuse it. It doesn't make it right.
That's right.
What forgiveness is, it's for you to be able to move towards a place of healing to let go of the anger and forgiveness so you can have a life where you're happy and you can move forward and it doesn't affect the rest of your life. So when you forgive, we're not excusing the behavior. But the one truth is, and I say this to clients all the time, you can't forgive until you're ready. And we shouldn't push people to be ready before their time. It's a process. So when you're angry, you're hurt, you want to forgive, it's a process. Don't put a time frame on it. Don't put any expectation on it. And especially don't compare yourself to others. The healing process is completely individual, even grieving. And when you're angry and hurt and you're ending a relationship, you're still grieving as well. So don't compare it to others. Don't put an expectation of what it should feel like, what it should look like, how long it will take. Do it for you. Do it at your own pace. And, you know, again, just don't compare yourself to others. You'll get to that place, but do it when, and you need to heal, you need to feel. So it's really feeling to heal.
I like that.
Well, you know, it's, people never want to feel because with feeling is pain, you know, to feel anger, the hurt, the sadness, the confusion, the fear, all of that's very painful. You know, working through anger, healing, forgiveness, grieving, it's hard work. And I always tell clients when they come to me, you know, they're at this level and it could be a miserable level. They could be feeling very miserable, but they know what to expect. They know how to handle it. It's what their comfort zone looks like. It's what they're used to. When you start either doing counseling or coaching and you start dealing head on, you kind of into it, you kind of go in a U shape, right? So you go down and here's the pain where all the feeling is, and a lot of people run when they get there. And you kind of work up the U, you'll get to a really good place. But you got to give yourself that time to heal.
Get past that. Yes. Okay.
Right? You got to get through that U. And again,
it's
not hard work. It absolutely is. But I can also say, even from my own personal view, being through it myself, not just with clients, but working through healing myself, it's well worth it.
Okay, yes. So now that's good information. So why is it so hard for people to let go of anger?
Because again, when they're letting go of it, well, there's a few reasons. Some people identify with their anger. It kind of gives them an identity. You know, I'm an angry person. I have a wall. No one will ever hurt me again. And look at what I built. And I did this all by myself. And they take pride in it. And the truth is, we're social creatures. We're humans. We need other people. So to kind of raise yourself thinking that no one's going to be helpful, that you're going to get hurt from everybody, will eventually get to you. Again, we use denial and avoidance and use all these defense mechanisms for a very long time. But eventually that loneliness and isolation feeling will come up. You know, you can keep stuffing it down for a while, but if you don't deal with it, it might not come up emotionally because you're so denial, but it'll come up physically. You know, we'll get signs, symptoms all through our body. We can get psychosomatic illnesses. We can get panic attacks. And then it could turn to burnout. So it really will affect us. I mean, even heart attacks, high blood pressure, you know, it could go the gamut. Don't identify with it. Feel it, work through it, but don't identify. The other part is people hold on to their anger because they don't want to forgive because, again, they feel like it's justifying the other person's behavior or using it. And again, I just want people to know forgiveness is never about the other person. You know, when you forgive somebody, that person doesn't even need to be in your life. It doesn't mean that you need to have a relationship with that person. It's just for you so you can move forward and be healthy and happy. So excusing the behavior, and you don't need an apology from the other person. You don't need to have contact with the other person to forgive. You know, when my father died, I didn't forgive him until after he died. I wasn't able to get any people think about. I forgave because if I didn't forgive, it was going to affect me for the rest of my life. It would affect how I parented, if I even became a parent. So I had to forgive so I could be the person I'm meant to be, not angry, not to be the bad parent or not have kids. I didn't want to keep that vicious cycle going.
Got you.
Right, for me. And he was gone already. He was gone. I couldn't get an apology. I couldn't find out what he was thinking. But it didn't really matter because it was just for me.
For you, that's right.
And to make my own changes because the anger affects us so much. It turns us into somebody we're not. And that happen. We want to be able to be our authentic, true self because if we're not, we're always living kind of like on stage, like an actor. You're always performing. You're never your true self. You have a mask on. And that is so fatiguing and exhausting. And to live like that is so draining, and we don't want that. So again, forgiveness is not excusing behavior, it's not justifying it, it's only for you. And again, don't identify with the anger. Feel it, work through it, don't make it part of your identity. Use a weapon or a tool to move forward. Weapons, I don't like that. Use it as a tool to move forward, to learn from, to grow, to make changes. That's what you want to, it's like a teachable, learnable moment.
Yes,
Toolbox as a way to help you grow.
Right. Now, you mentioned that your father passed.
Yes.
You got a chance to talk about the anger and forgiveness. So what about a person who's listening now and maybe been upset, mad, angry for years and years and years? How do they initially break that silence to try to move past the anger, to forgive, move past the anger?
So, I mean, there's a few different things that you can do. So the first one to think about is finding empathy and compassion with the person who hurt you. And I know that sounds crazy when you're angry, because you're like, you want me to relate to the person who's hurt me? But yes, I kind of do. And this is why. So when we can find empathy and compassion with the person who hurt us, it allows us to see the big picture of who that person was, not just the hurt or the pain they caused you, but seeing them as more than that. Because even in the bad, there's always some good, right? Like when my father died and I was very angry, and there's a lot of bad I could talk about, I could still also, when I finally forgave and I found the empathy and compassion, I could tell you a lot about it, probably at least 20, 30 things that were great about him. And I knew that beforehand. And again, justify what he did or his behavior, but it allows me to see the whole person. It also allows me to realize that for him to treat me a certain way means he had to be hurting. It means that he's been through something, because why we hurt other people, there's two really important reasons. We hurt people because it's a learned trait. It's what they know. Maybe their parents were abusive, so they are. They had drug and alcohol, so they are. So they do. It's a learned trait. For others, the reason why they hurt other people is because they're trying to avoid their own pain and misery.
Makes sense.
And that could be subconsciously, they might not even be aware of it. So for somebody to hurt you, it really has nothing to do with you. It's something they're going through. And you got stuck in it and you got hurt by it. And again, doesn't excuse it, but allows you to see that it's not personal. And found the empathy and compassion, I can realize this wasn't about me. It wasn't that I was a bad child or that I was this bad person. It was, he was doing the best he could from what he experienced in life. Misery he went through. And that's important. The other thing to think about with forgiveness is also thinking about why you're holding on to anger. There's usually a reason for it. There's a lesson that needs to be learned. So when we can look at what we've been through, like for me, if I had a great childhood, I probably wouldn't have been a therapist. Try to be able to help people. Like if I didn't know what it felt like to be so hurt and hit rock bottom, I wouldn't want to go out there and help others, and I wouldn't have the tools to do it. And I wouldn't have the empathy, because empathy is a learned trait. So you'll realize a lot of people in the self-help field, whether they're social workers, counselors, coaches, psychologists, therapists of any kind, we do it because we know what it feels like to be hurt. We want to help. We want to be able to make people know that they can change and feel better. So I can look back at my past and go, yeah, I would never want to live it again. I wouldn't wish it on somebody, but God, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be who I am. And you can see a picture of how it shaped me to be a better person. So you can look at it from those directions: empathy, compassion, putting yourself in that person's shoes, seeing the bigger picture, and then also looking at it as, what was the lesson there for me? I mean, you can look at it as a spiritual way, not even just like a universe, source, God, that he put that lesson there so you could become the person you needed to be. Without that, you wouldn't be here in that spot. So, there's all different ways to look at it, and it depends what your background is with spirituality, religion. It depends, if you're going to a therapist, what, if they're going to use more empathy and compassion. And there's no right or wrong way. And time obviously helps healing and support. We need a really big support system. You can't heal, grieve, or forgive without support.
That's good to know.
Right. Just making sure you have a piece one or two people in your life that you love unconditionally who love you. Doesn't need to
And
be
and where you won't be judged.
right. That's the unconditional. No
Yes.
judgment. They won't abandon you, but they'll be
Yes.
honest with you. They might say, hey,
Okay.
what you're doing is really unhealthy. You need to change it, but they wouldn't leave you. They might even say, you know what, I can't watch you do this, but when you're ready to change and get the help, I'm here.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
a true loving, caring person.
Right. Okay. So now how does a person handle, like if it's let's say a parent, child, or
Mhm.
spouse, and they're the ones that are angry with you? How do you deal with that?
Well, you know what? You have to own your part. There's, it's taking accountability for what you've done.
Okay.
If you're the one hurting others, and
Uh-huh.
again, we hurt others just avoiding our own pain and misery, and we don't even realize it. It's not
Okay.
intentional.
Okay.
But once you find out what you've done, it's acknowledging it, it's owning up to it. But this is the big thing. Owning up and apologizing are great, but if you don't change, then you
Mhm.
really aren't truly making a difference.
Okay.
Then it's manipulating the person to keep them there. So
Okay.
if you apologize and own it, and if you're taking true ownership and responsibility and accountability for your actions, the only true way to do that is to change.
So now what if they're not angry for something you've done, but they're just angry people? They're just angry all the time themselves, but you have to deal with them because they are rather a spouse, a sister, or whatever.
So if you have toxic people in your life, because that's what you're really talking about.
Yes.
So a toxic person, and that's different than a negative person. A negative, a pessimist, they kind of see the glass half
Mhm.
empty. And there are people like that, and that's okay, because negative people, if you turn around and you're like, all right, I've had enough, let's go have fun, they can do
Mhm.
it.
Okay.
But if you're surrounded constantly by negative people, if everybody in your circle, the 5 or 6 people you spend the most time with are negative, you really want to look at, one, are you one of them? Are you negative? And birds of a feather flock.
Wow. Uh-huh.
Or if you're that person hanging out with the negative group thinking you're going to lift them and bring your positivity, I just want to tell you it doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work. Okay.
No, moods and emotions are completely contagious, but negativity flies way quicker than positivity. We're
Okay.
hesitant about the positive person. We feel more comfortable in the negative. It's called the negative bias, and we
Mhm.
all have it. It's inherited. So we want to fight that. So if you have, 1 or 2 negative people, it's okay. It's just saying when you've had enough and let's move forward. But if you have a toxic person, that's completely different. A
Okay.
toxic person makes us physically sick. So you'll know when somebody's toxic for you because when you see them, whether it's friends, spouse, kids, family, or friendships, doesn't
Okay.
have to be workers. When you're around them, it affects you physically. So knowing where you hold stress and anger and anxiety on your body, like for me, I hold it in my stomach.
Okay.
So if I'm around somebody who's toxic for me, my stomach instantly acts up. Even if I just get a text or a call from them, even if they're not, in my vicinity, I still feel it instantly. So pay attention. It's called the mind-body connection. Pay attention to where you hold stress and anger and anxiety on your body. And the minute you feel it, you'll know. And let's
Really?
for me, yeah, you do. You feel
Okay.
it. Pay attention to it. And what's
Okay.
toxic for me might not be toxic for you because we all have different perspectives and personalities.
Right. Okay.
But if someone's toxic for you, you'll feel it. And some signs are they're manipulative, they're controlling, they're judgmental, they're harsh, they're very self-absorbed. Everything revolves around them, and they're always the victim. Nothing is
Okay.
their fault. They'll never take ownership. Now, with people like this, if you have to be in a relationship with them, if you don't, even family, we do have an option to break up with family. It's a harder decision, but I have known lots of clients who have done it and are happier for it. If it's going to make you healthier, it could be the right option for you. But
Okay.
put some deep consideration in. But if it's
Okay.
people that you can't break up with, like you said, friend, spouse, it could be your boss, anything along those lines, then you need to have some really strict boundaries and limitations that are healthy for you.
Okay.
Whether it's you only spend a certain amount of time with them, you give a time limit, like I can only spend an hour with this person. Client who has a friend that's very toxic for her, but they've been friends since like 2 years old, goes
Okay.
back, she'll only see her once a season. That's all she can handle. If it's family, a lot of times I'll tell my clients to make sure when they're with the toxic people that they're in a group so they can't get them one-on-one.
One-on-one. Yes.
Because
Okay.
Or again, you limit the time by using your mind-body connection. The minute you feel it, that's when you have to get a change of scenery. So making sure you bring your own car and you have an out.
Yeah.
Or even just to take a break, like I need to go to the bathroom, take a few minutes to relax. Or it might even be telling a family member that a certain topic is off, because it could be the topic that they constantly talk about that causes the toxicity.
Gotcha.
I mean, we talk about politics or religion, or it could just be you have a family member who's a great person, but they're in a miserable marriage. They'll never leave, and not abusive, just they're not happy there. They said,
Okay.
but they'll never leave, but that's all they complain about. They're constantly whining and complaining. And it's okay to say, you know what, I love you, but that topic is off limits unless, of course, it's an emergency, like, they're in the hospital or sick. I can't do this anymore.
Okay, got you.
To be honest.
Right.
Healthy limitations and boundaries, really important.
Okay. Now, you mentioned about a boss. That was my next question. When you have an angry boss and the boss is angry all the time, and you have to work with them, and you don't have the privilege to like walk away from your desk or walk away from as often as you should, or you need time off or things like that. How do you deal with that?
Well, again, it's setting up as many boundaries as you can. But honestly, if you're in a situation that's very toxic, and we know this in a work environment, having one toxic person can ruin the whole environment. If it's really that bad, then you have to ask yourself, is this job worth it? That is a question. And not to leave and just get up and quit, but maybe start looking for a job while you're still in it, or switching departments. Maybe just leaving the department. You love the company, you like the job, just can't, the boss is a micromanager, always criticizing. And if it's really not just you, which the odds are it's not just you, then maybe it's time for HR to really have a talk with HR. But the other thing to think about that you can do is doing things that prevent you from getting very stressed out. So maybe knowing that this person bothers you, when they walk away and you're done, maybe taking 2 minutes in your office to just close the door and meditate. And you don't have that, walking outside to sit outside for 5 minutes, going into the bathroom and just doing some deep breathing. Just yourself, because knowing this person upsets you, and even just doing a simple deep breathing, as in, breathing in through your nose, holding for a sec, and then exhaling as loudly as you can through your mouth, or just like a sigh, like, oh. Saying all of the stress, you don't hold on to it. But remembering it's not a personal attack. When somebody like a boss is a micromanager and they're coming after you and other people, it's really about them, and reminding yourself, because how somebody treats you is not about you. It's reflection of what they're going through, what they're feeling.
Yes, and that's a good way to look at it.
But it's the truth. And remembering people hurt people. Again, nothing to do with you. Maybe it's a learned trait. Maybe he's had bosses who were like that. Maybe his parents were very micromanaging or bullying, that kind of bully personality. Or maybe they're in such a miserable place in their own personal or private life or business-wise or in the mix that they take it out on other people, or they don't even realize what they're doing. So either way, it's putting a little empathy into it, imagining that they must be so unhappy that they have to treat people like that. Knowing that it has nothing to do with you. But if it's starting to make you physically sick, if you're leaving your job feeling stressed, if Sunday nights are getting miserable for you, knowing you have to go in for that one thing, then it might be time to remove yourself from the situation, because we can't change others. We can only change ourselves. We can change how we react, how we feel about it, or what situation we put ourselves in.
Okay. So now what is the best way to apologize if you are the wrong one?
Just owning it. It's really just owning it and going up to the person and saying, I'm fully aware of what I've done, whatever that is. I want to take responsibility. I'm truly sorry, and I'm going to make the changes so that doesn't happen.
Okay.
That's really it, and making the changes, sticking with that.
Okay. So now, once a person decides to stop being angry, forgiveness usually follow?
Yeah, it eventually does. It can take a little time. There's no time limit on time expectation. Everybody's completely different. Again, it could take months for one person, years for another. It depends what they've been through, how long they've been onto it, what their support system looks like. There's a lot of variables in it. But yeah, you're going to have to work on forgiveness from the other person. Like forgive the person who hurt you, and also forgive yourself if you played any role in it. There's a two-way street on that.
Right. Okay. So now what does it mean to really forgive? like break forgiveness down?
You know how the best way I can say it is you've known you forgive somebody when you can talk about it to others without getting upset. Like I can talk
Okay.
to my father, not be upset about it, use it as a learning tool for other people, and
Okay.
I'm holding on to it. That's how you know when you've truly forgiven. And really, forgiveness is just about moving forward.
Okay. Yes. Got you.
What's your definition of forgiveness? You know, is it releasing the anger? Is it moving forward? Have you felt that you stopped? Maybe forgiveness means you can have better relationships because you've let down the wall, but you can
Mhm.
define it individually as well.
Okay. So now in your business as a therapist and helping people, what has been the biggest hurdles that people have dealt with overcoming forgiveness?
I think the biggest I have seen is just holding on to that. They feel
That's
like
what
they're
okay.
somebody's behavior just be okay. That they
Okay.
feel forgive, then they're accepting how they were treated. And
Okay.
again, that they have nothing to do with each other, but getting them through that hump has been the hardest from what I've seen.
Okay. Okay. So now how do you forgive yourself?
So forgiving yourself, again, very similar. It's owning up to your actions.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's owning it, being fully aware of it, taking that action to ask for forgiveness from the person you've hurt if you can, if they're still around.
Mm-hmm.
And also forgiving yourself means apologizing even to yourself, like putting empathy towards yourself, being compassionate, knowing that you did the best you could
Okay.
at that time with the information you had and that you're human, and figuring out why you did it. Because
Okay.
when you know why you did it, like maybe you hurt somebody, maybe you ended a relationship, even
Mm-hmm.
though you didn't want to and you hurt them because it came out of nowhere, but you were so scared you couldn't do it anymore. So
Okay.
it's realizing, okay, I'm owning that I did that. I'm apologizing to the person I hurt. I apologize to myself for doing the best I could at the time, and then
Okay.
figuring out why you did it so you don't do it again.
Okay.
See
Got you.
the pattern. So,
Yes. Yes.
and finding that empathy and compassion. You know, when we just insult ourselves for doing something wrong, you know, I could either go down the road, I'm such an idiot, I always do this, I lose all the good relationships, I'm such a loser. I could go that route, which just
Okay.
makes me feel worse and causes a self-hatred and brings down my self-worth and confidence.
Okay.
Or I could go down the road of, what can I learn from this? How can I own this? How can I
Yes.
change? Who can I apologize for? And
Yes.
can I be self-compassionate to know that that's all I could do at the time?
Right. Got you.
You have two options, and obviously you can see which one's the healthy and which one's the unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now you do seminars. You are an author. So tell us about that.
So I have 3 books, and my latest book, which is now probably a year or so old, but is called Mindfully Happy, Waking Up to Life. And it's just giving some really concrete, realistic, sustainable tips on how to be more mindful, which is reducing the stress, being in the here and now, and just being happier. Because we know there are lots of exercises we can do daily to cultivate more happiness and mindfulness in our lives. And
Okay.
seminars all up and down the East Coast, from the New York, New Jersey area all the way to Florida. So I'm kind of all over the place, just trying to spread happiness as I can.
Yes, yes. So you practice being happy all the time.
Well, I'm not happy all the time, but I do try. But what I have noticed is, you know, I'm human, I'm resilient. So when I
Yes.
do at times or situations that happen, I quickly become aware of it and I can make the change.
Okay, okay.
Instead of being upset for months or weeks, I'm now upset for a few hours or a day or two, and then I can
Got
work.
you. Yes. Yeah.
So, 'cause, you know, we're humans. We're always going to have stress. You know, life's a roller coaster ride, so we can't always be happy, nor should we
Yes.
do. But it's just feeling your emotions and working through them to be more resilient and aware.
Okay, okay, got you. So can you give some words of empowerment or encouragement to women who are trying to be happier in their lives?
Just the first thing is to make the commitment to wanting to be happier. It's a choice, it's a perspective, it's a commitment. And then really doing the work to get there and knowing that you have the ability to do it. Because back in the day, people used to say, I can't change. You know, I'm a victim of my DNA, it's my genetics, my parents, I can't change. Again, we know that is not true. So
Mm-hmm.
you have the ability to make those changes, to form new habits, beliefs, patterns. So don't think you're stuck, but you got to start with the commitment, making that choice, and then taking some action to get there.
Okay, got you. Thank you, Diane. It's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. And I learned so much. And I'm just want you to know I'm always happy.
Well, then you better be, because not me. I'm not always happy, but I'd say about 75% of the time.
Yes, yes. So can you give everybody your information in case they want to reach out to you?
Sure. So if you go on my website, which is I can't say that, DL Counseling, it's just my initials, DL Counseling. You can find my book information. You can see a list of where I will be, speaking. That's open to the public. And there's a lot of different articles on there as well that are free for everybody who comes on the website.
Okay, all right. So I just want to thank everyone for watching us. And again, thank you, Diane. If you want to reach out to Three Women Voices, you can reach us at threewomenvoices.com. We are on Facebook at the number 3 Women Voices. We are on Instagram at 3_Women Voices. And you can reach us through our Gmail at threewomenvoices@gmail.com. And I thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Diane.